Here we go.
So since it is 7, I'm gonna just jump in and say that we are gonna give it just a few more minutes to see if anybody else can join us before we get started.
Okay.
Okay, I think we're gonna get started. I wanna be sure we're being respectful of everyone's time. So good evening and welcome everyone to our Beaker Brief. My name is Sydney Tilley and I'm the Assistant Director of Alumni and Family Engagement here at Eastern. The goal of these briefs is to quickly educate on a topic that our alumni are interested in, and tonight we're excited to have LaToya Bines here to share with us about conquering imposter syndrome as a solopreneur. At the end, we will have a time of Q&A, so if you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the Q&A box and we'll answer any we have time for. I'd like to welcome LaToya this evening. LaToya Bines obtained her associate's degree in paralegal studies from the Community College of Philadelphia and her bachelor's in business administration from Eastern University. This former corporate paralegal and HR compliance specialist's goal is to help small businesses reach their full potential. She is the founder and president of Elevated Standards LLC, where she provides virtual assistant services, business planning consultations, and document preparation. And with that, I will hand it over to LaToya to share with us.
You so much. I appreciate that welcome. Hello, everyone, and I am so grateful that I am with you guys today and that you have chosen to schedule some time to be with me today. And we're going to dive into conquering imposter syndrome as a solopreneur. So I'm going to share my screen so that we can dive in. All right, and hopefully everyone can see the screen. So, of course, today's topic is conquering imposter syndrome as a solopreneur. And my name is LaToya Bines. And of course, as previously stated, I am the owner and founder of Elevated Standards. And my journey to entrepreneurship actually started a few years ago. Let me back up a little bit. Elevated Standards is an administrative and support agency which does provide virtual assistant services and document preparation and a few other items as well. So we start, excuse me. So we help individuals and businesses with those needs. And the journey started a few years back when I was helping individuals with business plans and resume writing and all those things. And I didn't feel like this was something that people would pay for. So I was doing it for free. And that, was a long line of other things that came into place in order for me to go there. I wanted to start a business. I knew how to start a business. I was afraid to start a business. So I was afraid to start, but it was also a bit of imposter syndrome because my entrepreneurship journey started in addition to that with me being a co-owner of a company. And my fear was, oh, well, the customers are coming through the other owner. They're not coming from me. They're coming from the other owner. They only want to sign on because of this other person, not because of me. So when I started Elevated Standards just under a year ago, and I started to receive clients as a solopreneur, and I had to change my mindset just a tad bit in order to move forward, to see results, to see that people will actually come back for more. And today I'm going to talk about, overcoming those feelings that we have that I just briefly discussed. So today's agenda is we're going to talk about what is imposter syndrome, what causes imposter syndrome, and how to overcome it. So, what is imposter syndrome? Imposter syndrome is actually not a syndrome at all. It's actually a psychological phenomenon. It is the inability to believe that you can achieve new goals or accomplish new tasks. You doubt your skills, your intelligence, your abilities, just as I previously stated, right? You feel inadequate, incompetent, and underdeserving of accomplishments despite, and this here is the key part, despite evidence of success. So, as I told you previously, I told you I was offering the services for free. People were asking for the said services, evidence of success. I was having success. I was afraid to charge for it. You see how those things tie together, right? And then it is the fear that others are going to find out that we're a fraud. So when I worked with the other co-owner, I didn't feel adequate, right, to be a business owner. I didn't feel as though the people were coming for the services that I provided, but I provided the service. People were paying for the service. So even though I had the evidence of success, I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it until I came into the solopreneurship. And then I realized, oh, there's something here. There's something more than what I thought. And uh do not think that imposter syndrome just comes for a little while. It comes, it goes, it might come back. Okay. So let's talk about the history of it very quickly. The world was introduced to imposter syndrome as a psychological phenomenon in 1978 by psychologists Clance and Ines, and they were at the time graduate students. And they shared parallel stories of self doubt, and they felt like phonies. So here they are going to school for their chosen profession, and they don't feel like they're deserving of it. And what they found was that many of the female students felt the same way. So when they started this idea, introducing it, it really was focused on women because at that time, women primarily felt this way. And even to today, we find that women and women of color are those who suffer the most from imposter syndrome over their male counterparts. So it's not to say that men do not suffer from it, but men and women do. It's just largely seen in women. So through their research, they discovered that there were two types of people: those who overestimated their abilities and those who underestimated their abilities. And imposters, or those suffering from imposter syndrome, underestimate their abilities. Okay. So, what causes imposter syndrome? While there is no direct cause of imposter syndrome, Clance and Imes found that family dynamic patterns could play a factor. So, those who are seen as the sensitive child, who were overshadowed by their siblings, who were seen as the intelligent ones, often struggled with self doubt. So, they struggle with the self doubt, and then there are those who grew up in environments where they could not make any mistakes. And those are the ones that we see who suffer from feeling like an imposter. Okay. And you can think back to your childhood and your experiences and see if you fall into one of these two categories. Like I said, there's no direct cause, but these are some factors. So, Dr. Becky Bailey is the owner of Conscious Discipline. She has a curriculum to teach preschool teachers, parents, and other professionals who deal with young children about how to discipline children in a way that helps them grow. So, here on the screen, you do see a picture of the brain, and you see there's three different areas of the brain. Well, we found that the limbic system operates and controls the emotional state of individuals. So not just children, because children grow into adults, right? So this area operates the emotion. And this tells you if you are loved. As a child, that's very basic, right? Do you feel loved? But as we go through our journey, our working journey, and our journey through entrepreneurship and solopreneurship, we have a recording in our mind that tells us if we're worthy or not, right? And so our recording sounds different for everyone. And we learned that through this method that she teaches, that solo entrepreneurs who who are in toxic environments from previous employers take that into their solo and entrepreneurship journeys. And the need to receive the quote unquote good job or keep up the good work and never receiving it plays a huge factor. Okay. So for your solo and entrepreneurs, the recording may sound like no one will pay for this product or service, like I previously experienced, right? It could be you don't have what it takes to run a successful business, right? And mind you, remember, imposter syndrome is despite evidence of success, okay? So we may also hear that you can't make it on your own. And it may be something that you heard from previous employers. You may have heard that from uh, clients from that previous employer who are loyal to that employer when they realize that you are leaving to start your own ventures. It can come numerous of ways, but the questions that we then start to ask ourselves because of those self doubts and because of that recording that never really breaks is how will you land your first client? Can you gain and maintain financial stability, or your price is too high? And so I'm going to stop right there for a moment if your prices are too high, because this goes back to Dr. Becky Bailey of Are You Are Loved, if you are loved, right? If you are worthy, right? Do I feel worthy of putting my product or service out there for people to pay for it? Do I believe in myself? Do I believe in my product or my service? So these are factors that play a part that in the subconscious mind weigh us down, but then it shows itself evident through our actions because we price ourselves too low. So we don't attract the clientele that we want to attract because our prices are too low and they don't take us seriously, right? It's a cycle. It's that record, and we have to break that record and break that cycle in order to get what we desire. Okay, so evidence of success may be receiving referrals. When I received my referrals, I was elated. I was like, oh my goodness, somebody believed in me. Like, it's not just me. When that referral wasn't just a family or friend, but that referral came from another client, I was beside myself. I was absolutely beside myself. And, think of those joyous moments that you have in your solopreneurship journey and start to document those things, okay? Having returning clients or customers, that's a major step. These are evidence of success. But the one that stands out the most is the profit outweighs the losses. So when those profits start to weigh out the losses, then it's like, yeah, I am being a success. This helps define what success looks like as a solopreneur. So I'm going to pause here for a moment and I'm going to ask you, for those who want to share, or if you're watching this on the replay, to comment in the comment section below to tell us about an example of how an employer has caused self doubt despite evidence of success and how it has shown itself in your solo or entrepreneurship journey. Okay, so I'm going to pause there for a second, brief moment, and see if anybody comes up and out to share. And then it looks like we have a few participants. Okay, no one comes off. That's all right. That's all right. You can keep that journey to yourself because there will be a time where you will want to share it. There will be a time where it will be appropriate for you to share it because maybe you're still going through some things, and that's okay. That's okay. Like I said, entrepreneurship and the imposter syndrome is an ongoing cycle, right? It doesn't stop. You may have moments of success, but it's not. But just know that you are not alone, okay? Excuse me. Know that you are not alone. 70% of people have experienced imposter syndrome at least once. So know that that's a large number of people, okay? You are not alone. And 30% of high achievers suffer from imposter syndrome. Even the actor and comedian and producer Mike Myers said, I still believe that at any time The no talent police will come and arrest me. Look at his body of work, right? He believes that he doesn't have the talent, but look at his accolades. See how is that despite evidence of success, you can be successful, but it's in you to believe that you are successful. Okay. It starts with the mind because remember, it's not a syndrome, it is a psychological phenomenon, right? It is something now that has become more popular amongst individuals today. But remember, it's been here since 1978, as far as we know it as a term, but it's been here. It's not the first time coming through. And I'll even take it back even a little bit further because we're with Eastern and we are Bible based here, right? So I will take it back even to biblical times where you could see Jeremiah. Jeremiah dealt with self-doubt, right? He said, I'm not old enough, right? Well, but are you? Look at the evidence of success, right? Look at Moses. Moses questioned, right? So, but look at his evidence of success. There are people, both in today's age and ancestrally, that we can look back at and see that you are not alone. Okay. And there are biblical points that you can look at that you can see how to overcome it. All right. And we're going to get into some ways to overcome it soon. Even Maya Angelou, look at this woman, this legend here. She said she's written 11 books, but each time she thinks, uh-oh, they're going to find me out now. I run the game on everybody, and they're going to find me out. Maya Angelou. That's unheard of, right? But even someone at this level of success, this level of she's a legend, and she had self-doubt as well. You are not alone. So know that. So let's go into very quickly um the cycle of imposter syndrome. So you get a new task as a solopreneur, you land that client. It's like, yes, I finally got one, right? And then you have a little bit of anxiety or you over prepare, right? For me, for instance, doing this today, I over prepared myself. Like I researched everything I could possibly research in addition to what I already know because I wanted it to be right, right? I wanted you to get the most out of this and I wanted to deliver, right? So you may over prepare, you may have anxiety, you may procrastinate, you may wait until the very last minute to do a task, okay? But then the project is complete. You have done the task. You have did everything you had to do for the client. Great, okay? And then you have that moment where you say, I was just lucky, right? I had that moment. I've been doing business plans forever, forever, right? For some reason, that has just been the thing that I have done. Business plans, research is what I do. But when I first started, especially when I first started doing services for free at first, I felt like, oh, I was lucky. It's okay. I did this. I could have did it better. Or I did it great, but their expectations were too low. You start to question things of that such, and you're saying you're just lucky, or you start to doubt other areas. But the reality is that it was a good job. And I realized that when I was able to stand in the place of business for somebody that I wrote a business plan for because the business plan was successful, right? But in that moment, it didn't feel success until I was able to see it. I was able to live in it and experience it. Okay. And then you have increased self-doubt and anxiety and feeling like a fraud. It's not true. Somebody's going to come and take this all away. Like, how dare I decide to become a solopreneur, an entrepreneur? Someone's going to figure out that I don't know what I'm doing and they're going to take it away. Right. So, and then you get a new client and then you start the process all over again, right? So we see that this is a cycle and is an ongoing battle. And in order to break this cycle, we have to change our mind. Okay. So we change our minds and we overcome imposter syndrome by acknowledging our feelings. I feel afraid. I feel afraid what? That that my business is not going to succeed, that I'm not going to get that new client, that my marketing efforts may not be good. All questions that we start to ask ourselves or question about ourselves in our journey, right? But acknowledge those feelings and identify the root cause of that emotion. And it may be that you need to seek therapy, and that's okay. Okay. Then you want to reframe your thoughts. You want to say, I need to work. You may say, I need to work harder to achieve success. How about have good work ethic, right? Where you may say, I'm not good at anything. List three things that you're good at. Okay. Then you start to change your mind. And if you start to write these things down, the things that you are, then it helps to reframe those thoughts. So when you have those negative thoughts, you're going to replace them with the positive thoughts. Okay. Then you're going to manage your self expectations. Okay. I was doing some research for this, and they said uh, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be good enough. I completely cringed. I was like, "What do you mean I don't have to be perfect? What do you mean I only have to be good enough?" Like I didn't understand it, but I do in the sense of that's a lot of pressure that we put on ourselves to be perfect because we're the only ones promoting the business. We're the only ones doing the work, so it has to be perfect in our minds. But for the client, what are they looking for? Are they looking for perfection or are they looking for good enough? Right. So we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. And for me, that's an area where I think I will continue to struggle because I want everything to be just right. But it's a process, it's a journey, right? So setting achievable goals and recognizing those personal limitations helps to prevent burnout and the overwhelming feeling that you're not measuring up. Next, we have build self confidence, embrace your accomplishments, learn from your failures, and practice self compassion. I want to stop there for a moment. Is how often do you practice self compassion? Are you compassionate with yourself to let yourself know that it's okay? Do you give yourself a pep talk before you go into a meeting? Do you give yourself a pep talk before you take on one of the largest clients and projects that you have ever taken on before? Right? And there are ways to do this. Just be kind to yourself. We're kind to others. You're with yourself the longest amount of time. Be kind to yourself. Okay. And then the last thing here is build a community. Surround yourself with those who provide insight and encouragement. You may want to find a mentor. You may want to find just a group where you can come together and support each other, right? And we have resources available that you can tap into for that encouragement, for that insight. Okay. So lastly, I have here is to combat the feelings of inadequacy and incompetency by reframing your thoughts, embracing your accomplishments, and showing yourself compassion. Maya Angelou also said success is liking yourself, liking what you do, and liking how you do it. Okay. So I would just want to reiterate that with you guys, and I hope that you enjoyed this. If you want to get in contact with me, my information is on the screen. Please write it down and let me know that you are from this webinar and this series, and then we can start to build a community together so we don't all feel like imposters. Okay. So thank you so much. I appreciate your time this evening. And I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing, LaToya. We really appreciate that insight. I know I'm not a solopreneur, but I've definitely experienced my fair share of imposter syndrome. And so just a lot of those tips and tricks, I was like, yes, okay, I feel seen and I feel like I've got some tools to go forward with. So I appreciate that.
Great.
I'm going to open it up now. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to drop it in the chat or in the Q&A. Either one is fine, and we will answer any that pop up, okay?
Okay. See what
And we'll just give it a minute or two and see if any pop in. And if not, then we'll go ahead and close for this evening, just so we're respectful of everyone's time. But yeah, if you do have any questions, I would just encourage you to ask LaToya. I mean, she's very thorough, but
Yeah, it goes back to that, be trying to be perfectionist, right? It goes back to that.
yeah.
Just crossing all your, T's and dotting all your I's. It looks like we may have a question in.
It's about the chat. So yes, sorry, the chat is disabled. You can go ahead and put a question in the Q&A box if you would like to. That is going to be the best method.
Okay. Excuse me. So apologize. All
So it
right.
is 7:30, and since I don't see any more questions popping in, I think we're gonna call it there. As always, oh, we do have a comment in the Q&A box. Dolores would like to thank you, LaToya, for your presentation and all the excellent points that were made. Um,
Okay.
so yeah.
I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have obviously here LaToya's contact information. If you do come up with any questions later, she would love to chat with you more about this. And thank you so much for taking the time and for everyone for joining us as well with all of this. And we look forward to our next brief in March, and we hope you'll join us then. Otherwise, we hope everyone has a good night.
All right. All right. Thank you all. All right. Take care.